Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us this morning. This is a webinar number 3 of our series. This is called Real-Time Solutions. And today we're bringing you Sean Twite with Sovereign Technology Solutions for Business. And today is brought to you by the chambers of Apple Valley Chamber, Burnsville Chamber, Hastings Chamber, Lakeville Chamber, and River Heights Chamber of Commerce. A little bit of housekeeping this morning. All of you participants are currently muted. Please, at the bottom of your screen, use the question and answer feature to ask questions, and we will monitor that. We'll answer as many as we can following the presentation by Sean. Today's webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on the websites of all of our partners that I just mentioned. The goal of these webinars is to address business concerns since we are all socially distancing. My name is Ed Carney, President of Apple Valley Chamber of Commerce. We are thrilled to have today Sean Twite of Sovereign Company, and he's going to give us tips on working productively from home. And Sean is going to share a lot of tips and tricks and how to maximize the benefits of working from home and minimize the challenges of working from home. Sean, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ed. Happy to help and to be presenting this morning. So my name is Sean Twite. I have been in IT for over 20 years now. I've been doing IT consulting for the last 11. I have worked with many different sizes of companies, from companies with a single person up through very large corporations. I currently am working with Sovereign Incorporated, as Ed mentioned. I am the Senior Systems Administrator here, primarily working with servers, SANs, but also everything down to how do I get these paragraph marks done in Word correctly. So I have a lot of experience in the IT world, and like a lot of you, for the last month or so, I have been working pretty much exclusively from home. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the presentation itself, and we will get started. So the topic of this is going to be tips for working from home. And as you can see, that is what a lot of us may look like at this time. So just some statistics that to get us started out. Working from home can be a very productive environment. A lot of people, 2/3 in fact of managers, report that their employees are more productive when working from home, and 86% of employees say they're more productive when working from home. Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference in those two statistics, so obviously some of us aren't quite correct, but in general, people are more productive when they're working from home. And over 82% of people who do work from home, at least a portion of the time, have reported to have a lot lower stress levels in their life. Right now, that may not exactly be the truth, but in general, in the world of telecommuting, that is the way it goes. So, working from home has some downsides. People, when they work from home, tend to work more hours and to not have a lot of the boundaries in their life that traditional office-based employees have. So they tend to work more days. They tend to work more hours per day, and a lot of them are struggling with a work-life balance. A lot of them have said they need to take a day off just for their mental health. Almost 1/3 of people say they've needed that. And it can definitely be difficult for employees to connect with their coworkers and to have some of that team building that makes a workplace really kind of gel and come across and function in a more efficient manner. So, what can you do to maximize the benefit and minimize the downside? I particularly like this the picture on this one because it's so stereotypical and yet at the same time so true. So, one of the things you can do to really maximize your efficiency at home is to make sure you take breaks. It's really easy to forget to do that when you're at home. I know I personally am guilty of forgetting to take breaks. I'll suddenly look up and realize I've been sitting still and staring at a screen for 4 hours, and I haven't had any break at all. So it's definitely something that a lot of people struggle with, but a lot of people can find some techniques using the Pomodoro technique. And I know some of the schools doing the online learning have been teaching the same technique. And what that is and I've got the instructions here on the screen, is you choose a task, you work on it for a set period of time, oftentimes 25 minutes, and then you put a check mark on a sheet of paper, or you mark down something on your computer to let you know when that time is up, and then you go take a 5-minute break. And by taking a 5-minute break, it doesn't mean get online and go to CNN or MSN or something like that and read news for a little bit. Get up and walk away from your computer. Get up, use the washroom, go into the kitchen and get a drink, whatever it is, just something to get away and to break up the time and to physically move a little bit. And every time you've had 4 of those time periods, you should take a longer break, whether that's a 15-minute, whether that's your lunch period, whatever that is. But you should definitely get away from your computer, and then just continue doing that throughout the day. Even when you are in the office, taking regular breaks has been shown to increase productivity in employees and for people. And it's really important to make sure that you're getting those breaks and that you're taking the time away and the time for yourself. Also, you should definitely follow a schedule. And that schedule should, as much as possible, remain the same throughout multiple days. I mean, it should be the same, whether it's the same each day of the week is the same as the following week, or whether each day is the same throughout the week. So for example, if your job has different needs on different days, maybe every Monday you start at a certain time and every Tuesday you start at a different time. But as much as possible, you should make Monday and Tuesday the same. It helps you to maintain the stability and making sure that you have that the procedure and that you're really defining your home life versus your work life. Even if you maintain the same hours as when you go into the office, without a commute, say you start at 7 o'clock every morning in the office, well, if you don't have to drive half an hour, you're still gaining a half an hour for yourself. And so it's one of the benefits of working from home is you're going to have less time devoted to work, even though you're devoting the same amount of time to work. And it's definitely one of the benefits of working from home. And having a morning routine that can help, it can really help you and make sure that you starting your day in an energized fashion and an organized fashion, and that you're really, again, creating that separation between your home life and your work life. This one is oftentimes people think of it as kind of hokey, but it really works, and there's a reason why it has been an enduring facet of people's work lives, which is to keep a to-do list. Oftentimes, if you don't really have any focus and you don't have the people around you that help you stay on track, a to-do list can help do that for you and take the place of the other people. Making sure that you have a visual representation of your tasks, making sure that you can physically see at a glance how far you are throughout your day, and it helps keep your day on track and make sure that you're getting done the things that you need to have done or that you feel you need to have done throughout the day. Now here's the one that's really difficult. So there's a lot of distractions in people's lives, whether you're at the office or at home. In the office, you have a different set of distractions than you do at home, though. And it's really easy to be distracted when working because it oftentimes work isn't the thing that you really truly want to be focused on. It's a thing you need to be focused on, but it's not necessarily what you want to be focused on. So in the office, a lot of distractions can be coworkers, they can be cell phones, things like that. At home, they're very different. The distractions can be kids, it can be chores, I know I have trouble with if the kitchen is dirty and it sits right behind my desk, so every time I turn around I see it. If the kitchen is dirty, I have trouble not getting up and going to clean it. But it's those distractions that you need to be able to not focus on, that you need to try and eliminate. So if that could be whether it's a physical isolation of yourself, whether it's just not turning around and looking at the kitchen, things like that, just to try and eliminate those distractions and keep yourself focused. And here's another one that's really important, especially for those of you who don't or have not worked from home in the past, which is to set ground rules about working from home. Make sure the people around you know what you need and what your expectations are, and make sure you know what theirs are as well. This is especially important if you have more than one person working from home. Both people could very well need quiet times, and you may very well have your desk sitting or your workspace sitting just a few feet from somebody who works for a completely different company or in a completely different field, and that their needs might be very, very different. So making sure that you've talked through those, that you're sharing your calendar so that they know what your calendar looks like, making sure that there's quiet times you need, or if it's something where you're doing a presentation or you're doing like you actually need to video chat with customers, you may need a physical space. If you have an upcoming meeting that's really important, it's important, again, to talk with the people around you and the people so that they can generate your space, and so that they can respect you and respect your needs. And then if they have needs, then you also need to make sure that you're try not to schedule your conferences at the same time as the other person in the room has a conference. That way you don't have things competing. So making sure that you guys share the time and make sure that you share the space in a respectful fashion is really important. Having a dedicated office space, it's really important, but at the same time, it's not always possible. For example, my apartment is it's all one big room, so I really don't have a separate workspace. But I did set aside a specific area that I only use for work, and that can be the dining room table. It can be a desk that you've set aside specifically for it. I was actually looking online, and I actually found somebody who their workspace, their dedicated workspace, they set up an ironing board and they put their computer on it and an extra monitor and a printer, and they can move it off to the side when they don't need it, and then they pull it back and they in front of their chair when they do need it. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to have $10,000 worth of dedicated space and dedicated equipment. It can be very, very simple. But making sure that it is dedicated helps you to focus on your work, and it helps you to make sure that your mindset is in the work mindset as opposed to the home mindset. So one of the things that a lot of people overlook is the fact that if you're being sent home by your job, or if your job is specifically designed for telecommuting, you can oftentimes ask for equipment that you need from your work. Whether you need additional monitors, if you need a printer, mice, keyboards, things like that. There may be a budget at your company that is specifically designed to provide those things for you, or they may even just have them in stock and they're just literally sitting on a shelf waiting for somebody to ask to use them. That may or may not be the case, but they also reimburse you for legitimate expenses. But you're never going to know these things if you don't ask the question. So making sure that you ask and just find out what resources are available to you from your company is it's important, both for you and for the company. Now, security considerations are one of my personal areas of focus. I always find them, it's one of the areas that I have focused on a lot in my career. And a lot of you may have heard of VPNs through work. There's a lot of commercials on for VPNs that other companies use. And a VPN just stands for a virtual private network. And what it is it's either software or hardware defined, generally software in most people's case. And it creates a secured tunnel that sends traffic back and forth between your computer and your work that is encrypted, so that even if people capture that traffic, they can't read it and they can't do anything with it. It's important to use that and to make sure that you've got a VPN in place, because a lot of times especially if when you're working with sensitive information in healthcare or things like that, that information is very secure, and the healthcare providers and companies spend a lot of money on their security to make sure that people can't steal that information. And if you're not using a VPN and you're just working over any public Wi-Fi or something like that, and somebody steals that information, then all the money that the company has spent on security is kind of just thrown away. And for these reasons, public Wi-Fi is generally something that you should avoid. It's not always possible to avoid it, but as much as possible, you should be avoiding it. Just because you go to the Starbucks and you see the Wi-Fi that says Starbucks free Wi-Fi, it may or may not actually be Starbucks free Wi-Fi. You can name your Wi-Fi anything you want to name it. And for a lot of people with their home Wi-Fi, they've come up with very clever names, and you can see that. And that's the kind of thing, but there's no reason why you can't name it Starbucks free Wi-Fi and sit in your car outside and capture everybody's traffic that's going to Starbucks. So public Wi-Fi should be avoided because you cannot be certain that it's actually what it says it is. Another factor of security that a lot of people don't think about is printing. Everybody has talked about the paperless office for many, many years. And it's one of those things that everybody wants, but at the same time, it's one of those things that almost nobody is capable of. There's just some level of printing that almost always needs to take place. Now, if you're printing a sensitive document at home, you need to maintain the same level of security on that physical document that you can in the office. In the office, it's a locked space. You often have locked file cabinets. That you have limited access to the area from random people. And if you're actually printing things at home, you need to maintain that sort of security as well at home for those documents. And it can end up being expensive. And it may just mean that you spend a lot of time in front of a shredder, but then you also have to have a shredder. And at that point, if you print something, you read it, and then you shred it, why did you print it? So trying to not print sensitive documents and maybe use just screen PDF readers or whatever on the screen, it may be something that people have to get used to, but it is definitely something that increases the security and that should be looked at. Now here's an important one, which is to socialize with your colleagues. Like I mentioned earlier, there can be a lot of problems with creating that connection with people in your office. So if your company has a history of remote work, and has done this a lot, or has done this in the past and has a subset of people that do this regularly, they may already have a lot of tools in use, such as the Zoom meeting that we're on today, or they may have occasional once a year, a couple times a year retreats. They may have once a month you need to go in for in-person meetings. They have ways that allow you to help socialize with your colleagues, and they're used to that environment. But if your company doesn't have any history of remote work, for instance, in the current climate and environment, there's a lot of companies out there that never even considered remote work before that are suddenly have all of their users being remote. There may not be any avenue provided, and they may not have given any thought to how people can maintain those connections and socialize with the people. And to make sure that people have that interaction that helps them to be productive in their environment. But you should try and make things like that happen anyway. If your company's not providing it, you should be trying to provide it. Make sure that you are getting what you need and that the people that you're working with are getting what they need in order to be productive in their environment and to continue to enjoy your job. Whether that could be phone calls, it can be emails. Perhaps you guys sign up for the free Zoom accounts that are available, or other providers. There's WebEx, there's various other ones. They make use of them because they are important, and that connection and the socializing is really important and helps companies be what they need to be in order to be productive. And when you are doing that socializing, make sure you're heard. Oftentimes when you are remote and other people are not, or even if everybody's remote, it's really easy to skate under the radar and to not be noticed. And in a really big company, maybe that's less of an issue if you're not looking for advancement within the company. But if you're looking for advancement in the company, or if you're in a small company, skating under the radar can actually be a negative thing. So a lot of times, even if a meeting is optional, make sure you attend and make sure that you speak up during the meeting. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to monopolize the meeting. You don't have to make the meeting all about you, but make sure that people know you were on the meeting. Make sure that you are providing at least some level of input during the meeting. If they ask a question, make sure you're one of the people that's answering. Just making sure that you are heard is really important. And oftentimes that can be as simple as making sure that at the end of the meeting, you're one of the people that says, thanks, bye, before everybody starts hanging up. Just so that one of the last things they hear is your voice, and they recognize that not only were you there, you were paying attention, and you were there to the very end of the meeting. And then if it's possible, get into the office every now and then. It's good to be physically seen, and video conferences meetings can make that happen, but physical presence can be a big deal. So if you have the ability or the option to get into the office, even if it's once a month, take that opportunity and make the most of it. You don't have to spend a lot of time there. Maybe it's not even a whole day. Maybe it's you go in for one meeting, but make sure that you get in and your physical presence and people know who you are. And make sure you over communicate. I personally think this is one of the most important ones because, again, skating under the radar can mean people don't really realize that you're actually working. You might be working really hard, and if nobody really notices the results, or if your job is something where your results aren't something that people are looking at on a regular basis, they may not have any idea that you've actually been there doing what you need to do. So make sure that you are, in fact, over communicating. Again, we've talked about the video conferencing. Some of the options are Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, Microsoft Teams. Make sure that you find one that works for you, works for your coworkers, or if there's one available that your company is already using, make sure that you have that available and you're working with that one. Here's one of the areas where a lot of people fall down, which is working from home is a perk. Take advantage of that. You're probably just steps away from your kitchen. Go bake something. If you like baking, go get something in the crock pot. Just having the smell of the cooking can help to energize you. And you know, if you're taking your 5-minute breaks when you're doing those, and you're going over and you're throwing a new batch of something in the oven, that's the sort of thing that you don't have the ability to do if you're in an office. And it's really important. It's really one of the things that you can do to help alleviate your own stress and to make sure that you are remaining productive. The only key, though, is you got to make sure you don't abuse those perks, because if you abuse those perks, then eventually they get taken away. Okay, just like you begin your day with a routine, make sure you end your day with a routine. Again, it's helping change that focus in your mind from the I'm at work now to the I'm at home. And it's one of those things that helps that work-life balance come into play, and to make sure that you're maintaining that so that you can be the more productive person working from home as opposed to in the office. So again, make sure you end your day with a routine. Make sure it's something simple. It can be, you know, shutting down your computer could be the routine. Like I shut my computer down and I'm done. or it can be more elaborate. I know for me, I like to be on a Zoom meeting with all my other people in the office. At the end of the day, we have a 10 or 15-minute long Zoom meeting just to say goodbye, to recap the day, to see if anybody had any final questions. And then when you sign off of that, your day is done, and you've had a sense of closure, and you can walk away from your computer. Again, you should just be making it as consistent as you can, and make sure that it's something that personally works for you. So now again, I work for Sovereign, and just to let you know, I mean, Sovereign is a full service provider. We provide product sales, services, help desk, monitoring of systems, ongoing support and management. We have a lot of experience in all facets of IT. So if you are somebody who is thinking about or wants to expand your abilities in the remote work area, we're available to help. We can do that by providing equipment, by providing licensing, by providing advice, or to just answer questions about things.
Sean, thank you very much. What a great presentation, making us think about things that we really don't think about that often, especially those of you who are out there that are new to working at home. One thing you had mentioned is about security. Like sometimes, the coffee shop's half mile down the road. I think I'll go down there for an hour or two and work. If you use VPN in the coffee shop, is that secure or is that still unsecure?
It is more secure. The big thing, and you can see some of the commercials online right now that talk about how when you're connecting, people could be looking at your information, and if you connect the VPN, well, they can't see your information anymore. Well, that's sort of true. They can't capture that data in motion anymore. They can't capture the data stream and see what's in it. But that tunnel is only secure from end to end, and both ends need to be secured too. And if you're on a public Wi-Fi, your computer can be compromised before you've even turned on the VPN. Okay. So the public Wi-Fi doesn't necessarily make sure you're insecure, but the VPN also doesn't guarantee your security.
And I don't even have to be working on a sensitive issue. Just the fact that I'm there, my computer is on, makes it subject to insecurity, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Yep. And then also working from home, you had mentioned quite a bit about not being seen in that. After this crisis is done, we can all see the writing on the wall that employers are going to say, I can down my rental space here and let more people work at home. It's a perk. Can that hurt people kind of if all of a sudden this crisis comes back next winter or 2 years from now, where all of a sudden they look at you almost as like an independent contractor? And I think that highlights how much you have to, you had mentioned, be seen and go to meetings. And isn't that could be a problem?
It can. Yeah, it can. And that's an area that people have to be aware of. Independent contractors have a lot less protections in the workplace. They're great for employers because you don't have to pay things like benefits. You can cut back on hours with no warning. And they can be really good for employees as well, because in general, independent contractors have higher salary, a higher base salary. So if you don't need those benefits, if you're a young person who's relatively healthy and the benefits really aren't something that's important to you, then you can make a lot more money and you can get a lot, you can do a lot for yourself. On the downside, though, is when we hit a situation like this, the first people to go in general are the independent contractors, because they don't have those protections in place that a full-time employee does. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely, it's a double-edged sword for both companies and for employees. The employees, because they could suddenly lose that greater income that they're used to, or maybe they do get sick and they don't have any benefits to go with it. For employers, it can be a double-edged sword, because it worked out great for you, but now suddenly you're getting blasted in the media because all you had were independent contractors, and now they're having problems because of whatever happened. And so there's definitely pluses and minuses to that for both sides.
It's tax deductible if you do work at home. So keep good records. With that, I just want to thank you very much, Sean, for taking the time with us this Monday morning. And this is to start a new routine. on Monday mornings. Get up and listen to a webinar, and it'll get you rolling. Thank you very much. Our next one.
Ed, you cut out there. Sean, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Krista.
Okay, all right. We might have lost Ed there. Sorry, this is Krista Jack from the Lakeville Chamber, everyone. We might have lost Ed for a minute there. I don't know if you can tell we lost him. But yes, thank you, everyone. The next webinar is on Wednesday morning, and it will be regarding finances and investing and what you should do with your investing at this time. So I'm sorry that we lost Ed. Sean, thank you very much for being with us. Thank everyone again.
Thank you for having me.
This will be recording will be saved, and you can access it again on our chamber website. So everyone have a wonderful Monday.
All right.
Okay,
thank you very much.
All righty. Bye-bye.